I'm Harriet Simpson.
Hello, I'm Bernard Dominguez.
And we're here from the Office of Workforce Planning.
And we're here to talk to you about
Generations in the Workplace. So our objective today is to identify characteristics and gain a better understanding of the different generations in the workplace.
You'll learn a variety of strategies and techniques to find common ground for working more effectively, collaboratively, and productively with everyone on your team. In other words, we're going to learn about the different generations and how to work best together. So what is a generation? A generation is a group of people defined by age boundaries who were born during a certain era and location.
We're in a unique situation in the workplace right now because we have 4 generations, potentially 5, working at the same time. And it's important for us all to understand the differences between us so that we can work more collaboratively together.
A generation may share similar experiences growing up. They also may share similar attitudes and values because of those shared experiences. Because they grew up in the same time period, they may have a lot in common.
However, it is important to remember that just because we grew up in the same time period, we don't want to pigeonhole people. It's important to remember that everyone is an individual.
All right, let's take a look how the generations are broken down. The traditionalists are from pre-1945. Moved on to the baby boomers from 1945 to 1964. We got Generation X, which is 1964 to 1981. Millennials go from 1981 to 1999. And we have the iGen, or the Generation Z, which go from 1999 to present.
These timelines can vary depending on where you find your data, but for the purpose of our webinar today, we're going to use the dates we just showed you. The dates only fluctuate by just a few years, and sometimes people fall within these years, which considers them cuspers.
Like Casper the Friendly Ghost?
That would be Casper.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
No, cuspers is when you may be influenced by the generations that you sit right in between.
Here we have a comparison of our Caltrans workforce versus the U.S. workforce as of February 2018. You can see that the Caltrans percentage of Gen Xers and the baby boomers is about the same. This is due to the natural maturing of our workforce. However, the biggest discrepancy is the millennial generation versus Generation X. There are many studies and articles online that show how the millennial generation are slowly increasing in the workforce, and it's important for us to make adjustments to our approach to recruitment, retention, and career development to become the workplace of choice for these individuals, since they will represent the majority of the workforce in upcoming years.
The baby boomer generation are those who have generally been with our department, gaining invaluable knowledge and real-world experience. Therefore, as we focus on workforce planning, we must ensure that these individuals are taking part in knowledge transfer activities, such as mentorship, cross-training, and job shadowing.
Okay, here's a chart of the different generations and their characteristics. Let's take a look at the percentages that we have at our Caltrans workforce. We'll start off with the traditionalists. They're at 1.3%. Moving on to the baby boomers at 41.6%. We got the Gen X at 42.6%, and here's the millennials at 14.5%. And then we'll take a look at the row below that, which is the aspirations. And going down the list, we have traditionalists that has the aspirations of home ownership. Baby boomers have job security. Moving on to Generation X, their aspirations of work-life balance. And the millennials have freedom and flexibility.
Another area to look at is the communication preference. So here we have the traditionalists prefer that face-to-face interaction. Baby boomers would ideally want the face-to-face, but they're okay with phone or email if it's required. Generation X prefer text message or email, and the millennials prefer online and social media.
Let's take a look at the shared life experiences that shape the generations. We look at these shared life experiences because it shapes the way that we view the world.
And it's important to look at these things when we're looking at working together in the workplace.
Let's take a closer look at the traditionalists and the shared experiences that they had. The Great Depression, World War II, attack on Pearl Harbor, Korean War, radio, and telephone. Based on these shared experiences, the following characteristics have been identified as representative of the traditionalist generation. Traditionalists may be patriotic, loyal, they have a waste not, want not attitude, faith in institutions, a one-company career, be military influenced, and have a top-down approach. Traditionalists value conformity. No one should stand out, and everyone should work for the common good. Labeled by Time magazine as the silent generation, they are described as withdrawn, unadventurous, and cautious.
Okay, let's look at the baby boomers and the shared life experiences that might have shaped them. We've got the civil rights movement, Vietnam War, Cold War, space travel, feminism, and television. Based on these experiences, they may have similar characteristics, including being idealistic, competitive, and they may question authority. Their key descriptor is that they are optimistic. Baby boomers rebelled against the conformity of the traditionalists, although they did take on a value of team orientation. But as they lived in a time of protest and civil disobedience, they put personal gratification above group sacrifice of the generation before. Boomers tend to believe that success is only achieved through hard work and long hours, and playing nice, but being competitive. This generation may be motivated by opportunities for professional development, positions of authority, workplace benefits such as pensions and healthcare benefits, and also just getting recognized for their achievements.
Now let's take a look at Generation X. Some of the shared life experiences that happened within this generation is the fall of the Berlin Wall, the end of the Cold War, Challenger disaster, Desert Storm, personal computers, MTV, and the energy crisis. Other major influences were Sesame Street, the Game Boy, the PC. We're also known as the latchkey kids, as we had to come home and take care of our siblings. This created a large amount of independence and self-reliance in this generation. Generation X may be motivated by lifestyle benefits.
Like what?
Well, such as vacation, flexible work schedule so that we can see our children play sports, pension, recognition of our accomplishments, and professional development. Now let's talk about the millennials. Harriet, that's you.
Oh, right. Sorry. Alright, so the millennials. Here's some experiences that we may have shared. It's a child-focused world. There were school and mass shootings, the 9/11 terrorist attacks, the Iraq and Afghanistan wars, the internet, and social networking. Millennials tend to have a very short attention span because they are in a get it fast and get it now world, but they're very team-oriented. Some major influences are expanded technology, natural disasters, violence and gangs, diversity, and we may have been coddled by our parents just a little bit. Some characteristics that we share may be that we're globally concerned, we're realistic, cyber savvy, a lot of us suffer from ADD, and we're considered the remote control kids. The slogan that best represents this generation is, "It's all about me." But some of the motivators of this generation are the opportunities to learn new technologies, compensation, the opportunity to express creativity and give your opinion, a flexible work schedule, and especially a fun and positive work environment.
Feel about that? How do you feel about that, Harriet?
Yeah, me as a millennial, I feel like there were some of the characteristics that I can represent, but a lot of them were kind of hurtful. I don't feel like it's all about me. I also want to help others, so it's a difference in the way that you're represented based on the generation that you're in.
And I don't feel that I completely fit into the Gen X generation. I feel I'm a hybrid of that, of the Gen X and millennial. I'm savvy on technology, but I still hold some of the values of the Gen Xers.
So here's a quote from Notta Consulting about understanding generations. Psychologists, sociologists, and everyday managers have identified important differences between these generations in the way that they approach work, work-life balance, employee loyalty, authority, and other important issues.
It's important to acknowledge that everyone is different. Being different is what makes us unique. Seeking to understand and then to be understood, and to look for opportunities to collaborate.
It's important to understand these generations because there can be generational challenges. Here's a quote from Dittman on generational differences at work. A lack of understanding across generations can have detrimental effects on communication and working relationships and undermine effective services. How you think someone should think or act doesn't really matter.
Understanding the generation and even the individual will help you work through the challenges in the workplace and help build relationships. Here's a situation we want to avoid in the workplace.
Are you getting a lot done on that grandpa box?
The what?
The people in my generation do our work on our phones and tablets.
I also have a laptop.
I'll text the 90s and I'll let them know.
Since we're having a comedic look at the generations in the workplace, let's take a look at this chart. The Boomers timeline shows that pre-1960s was not the 60s. 1960s and 1969 were the 60s. 1970 to 2005, not like it was in the 60s. In 2006 to 2015, they are in their 60s.
So Gen X's, let's look at their timeline. Pre-1990, they whined about the boomers. 1991 to 1995, they wore plaid. And 1996 to 2015, they whined about the millennials.
All right, here are the millennials. Pre-2007, no iPhone. 2007, a new iPhone. 2008, a new iPhone. 2009, a new iPhone. And every year after that, a new iPhone.
We hope you enjoyed this brief introduction to generations in the workplace. I'm Harriet Simpson.
I'm Bernard Dominguez.
Thank you for watching. If you'd like to contact us with any workforce planning questions or needs, our contact information is on the screen now. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is going to have great outtakes.